Hello. Do you ever have one of those days when you don't seem to get anything done? When there's so many interruptions, the things that you need to get done keep getting pushed back or stopped? I'm having one of those today. I've tried a number of times to start this teaching, and each time it's been interrupted by hammering, sawing, drilling, all sorts going on. Now, see how it goes. We need bricks. We're using bricks and lots of timber and lots of nails and all sorts of other equipment. But actually, the work that we're doing at the moment in the church building is really not for the bricks, it's for the people. It's about people, not bricks. So here's Rose, lovely Rose. Here's Beth, lovely Beth. We're going to put these type of pictures all down our long corridor as a way of reminding ourselves and others about the growing community that is Chester Road Baptist Church. What lovely people we have here. It's all about people, not bricks. And right now, as we go through our series in Nehemiah, by the end of chapter 6, we got to the point where the basic structure was in place. The walls were done, but the gates and the doors hadn't been fitted. Now, by the start of chapter 7, most of the finishing touches have been done too. They've now got doors and gates where there weren't any before. And it's starting to take shape. Oh, what a lovely wall they have got. And no doubt they took a step back and admired their wall. And maybe people outside looked in and admired their wall. But actually Nehemiah hadn't been called just to build a wall, as good as it was. He was called to rebuild a city. And a city is based not on bricks, but on people. So take, for example, our lovely Birmingham. We're defined as a city, not by our motorway network or the train lines that run across us, but by the lovely people that all inhabit this city with us. Brummies. People make a city, not bricks or timber. So chapter 7 of Nehemiah is all about people and the importance that they play in bringing a city back to life again. Doesn't that sound important? A good reminder to us that as we are doing our refurbishing work, to remind ourselves that actually it's not about bricks, it's not about timber. Do you know what? It's not even about all the lovely comfortable chairs we're bringing in. It is about creating the space for people, because it's people that ultimately matter most. So Nehemiah sets about repopulating the city. To start with, he appoints two key leaders, two associates. He appoints his brother Hanani and also Hananiah, the captain of the guard. These are two really important people. And it says that yes, they're obviously competent because he wouldn't have appointed them otherwise. But it specifically says that he appointed them because they were full of integrity and faith. People recognised in them integrity. They recognised in them the faith, the spirituality that they brought. We as a church have been trying to appoint a church manager for some time, a bit like a Hanani type character for us, who's going to help oversee some of our developments and work of our mission and ministry. But it's really important we find the right person who not only has the competence, but also has the character, the calling, the chemistry and all the other things that go with it. The qualities are not just about have they got the job skill, it's about how do they live their life, how do they pursue their faith. And Nehemiah is helpful to reminding us of the importance of that and what we look for in the leaders. So we're adamant that the person we want to appoint eventually will have integrity and deep faith too. I wonder if that's you, if you're watching right now and wondering whether your organisational skills, your administration, your financial management and all of that could be well used to help us as a church take steps forward. If it is you, I'd love to have a chat with you. Next, Nehemiah appoints a group of people to help in various duties. He appoints gatekeepers, singers and Levites. And I guess we're at that similar stage too. Yes, we've got our bricks and our timber and our walls, but actually we need to now bring alive this space, and that we're going to need gatekeepers. So when we reopen, delayed yes, but when we reopen on the 25th of July. We're going to need gatekeepers, not to keep it out, but to enable people to feel welcomed as they come in. Maybe that's you. Maybe you could volunteer as one of our members of the host team. Do you know, having been in lockdown for 15, 16 months by then, we're all going to need a little bit of help coming out. We're all going to need that extra encouragement, that sensitivity, and that enabling people to come in, particularly for those who perhaps are new to faith, exploring it for the first time. Just think how you feel sometimes when you go to a new place where you don't know anybody. How do you feel? Well, that's how some people, when they come to church for the first time, feel. So we need gatekeepers who can welcome them, make them feel celebrated and enabled to come in. If that's you, talk to Pearl Shackelford, who heads up our host team. We're going to need singers and musicians too. So whether you play bass, drums, percussion, a wind instrument, a brass instrument, goodness me, even if you play the bagpipes, we would love to hear from you. You see, it's not about building a wall, because a wall and bricks in themselves, well, they don't worship. We're creating not a wall, but a worshipping community. For that, we need musicians and singers to help us. How much joy will there be when we can finally gather back together and sing in praise to him? If that's you and you'd like to be involved in that, why don't you talk to Jenny Beasley, and she'd love to hear from you too. Then there were the Levites. Now the Levites their job was to enable the worship to happen, and they were very organised. They had to prepare things in such a way that it enabled the whole community to worship. And we need people like that too. Maybe it's the tech team. We need people to help with the technical side of things, with our audio visual stuff, our projections and our live streaming and all that kind of thing. There's training, we're all learning, but we need people on the tech team. We also need people to help serve great coffee and tea, refreshments, because there's real community over a cuppa. We also need people simply to help prepare communion, so that when we do have communion, it's already for us, already prepared. Maybe again, that's you. We'd love to hear from you. Now, Nehemiah was shrewd. He knew that he needed to manage people's expectations. And I guess I want to do a bit of the same too. So in verse 4, he says, "Now the city was large and spacious." And goodness me, when you see our church sanctuary, and now as the carpet is going down today, you see this big, spacious area. How exciting. But he says there were few people in it. Yes, the city was large in spatial terms, but there weren't at that point many people back. Now, as the city was rebuilt, you could see what was going to take place. You could see all the potential. But we have to be realistic. On the first day that we reopen, and we open those doors on Sunday morning, are we going to be flooded? Are we going to have lots of people coming in? Or actually is it going to take a little while, A, for word to get out, but B, for confidence to be restored? So the fact that we're doing our refurbishing work, the fact that we're even putting lovely, comfortable, flexible seating in, they in themselves aren't the reason why people will come back with us. Do you know why people come? They come not for the chairs, they come for you, and they come for me. For the sense of community, the sense of belonging, of being together. We've all missed that. 15, 16 months of Zoom, 15, 16 months of telephone conferences, of isolation. Now we get an opportunity on the 25th of July to gather back together. But we need to be realistic, that it's going to take a while to build up. But just because we're being realistic doesn't mean to say we give in to pessimism, for doom and gloom. This isn't about saying, well, that's it now, it's never going to happen again, we're never going to get back, and all that kind of stuff. We are optimistic, we are hopeful, we are called and on a mission. But we're just being realistic about managing our expectations, just as Nehemiah was with the people too. Now, Nehemiah could see that the future will be even brighter with more households, more families involved. So in verse 5, it says that God put it on Nehemiah's heart. I wonder what God is putting on your heart at the moment. What's on your heart for us as a church? What's on your heart for you personally? What's on your heart for your household or your extended family? What's the Spirit saying to you? What was on Nehemiah's heart from God was all about households, about families. Now, he doesn't define what he means by families. It wasn't a case of it was this size or that size or this constitutes a family, but that doesn't. He doesn't get into any of that, and neither should we. Families come, households come, in all sorts of shapes and sizes, configurations, and it's wonderful, absolutely wonderful. But Nehemiah could see the future was brighter with more of them. And so he sets about trying to prepare and make that happen. And that's what we're doing too. So our lovely Caris, our children and families worker, is working really hard creatively to create space for children and young people as we come back together again. We've got brigades, we've got messy church, we've got stay and play, bumps and babies, and from the 25th of July, a creative, compelling children's and youth ministry program running alongside the Sundays too. All of that's important, because if we want households, we want families, then we have to plan for that, act as if they're going to be here. It says that Nehemiah dug out the genealogical, can I even say that? It says that Nehemiah dug out the genealogical records. And do you know what? That's what we've done. As we've been doing the work in the church building, it's given us fresh eyes to see things that were there and weren't there, but it's also enabled us to find things that we had previously lost. And one of the things that we've re-found are all the genealogical records that go back to the 1920s. So when we reopen, alongside one wall, we will have all the cradle rolls going back to the 1920s, so people can come and see their history, see their records, and say, well, that's me, or that was my parents, or that was my grandparents, or grandparents, and so forth, going all the way back. It's a reminder that Chester Road Baptist Church is home to many, many people. And it could still be a place where people return home to. We want to create that kind of space. There then follows a list of names, a lot of names. In fact, over 100 names, and lots of different kinds of names. They're not all called Mary and John. Lots and lots of names. Wouldn't you just love to be reading those? Get into chapter 7. It's quite a challenge. But as I was counting them, I realised that we're over 100 names. And it struck me that these were the names of people that returned. These were the names of people that came back from exile and were now part of the pioneering, the foundation of this new city, this new community. We too have just over 100 church members. And it's as if this group of people, this list of names, well, that's not just them, that's us. That's you and me. It's as if we are listed in that list of names too. Imagine that we are listed as the people that returned, as the people that helped to establish this new community, this new sense of mission and ministry. Now, for the last 15, 16 months in lockdown, our church buildings have largely been closed, completely for whole chunks of it. And we've had to adapt and do things very differently. To be honest though, during that time, the church has been as active as ever, just different. And it's even done us a little bit of good at times too. So for example, before lockdown, I think we had 2 small groups. Now, we've got 10 small groups. We've rediscovered the power, the importance of relationships and how to connect with one another, not just through our Sunday rituals, but actually through our relationships. How important is that? Now, 15, 16 months later, we're going to have to adapt to the new norm, to establish new routines as we gather back together again and we rediscover the importance of gathering. That sense of standing together, being in one place with one heart and mind, singing and praising in spirit and in truth. There's real power when we gather. And maybe that's a new lesson we're going to discover, having been denied that for the last 15 or 16 months. Maybe now we're going to rediscover the power of gathering together in praise and worship. Now, we've already been doing that for the last few weeks with our evening service for Joyce, with its classic traditional format. And we've been doing it on a Wednesday morning at 11:30 with our Breathe, our contemplative Celtic communion service. But from the 25th of July, we get to do it also in the mornings as a bigger gathering of people. Okay, slightly delayed, But nevertheless, how exciting, how joyful will that be to know that we are in the presence of God and in the presence of each other, able to sing, praise, natter, drink coffee together, grow community together. Hebrews 10 nudges us. It says, "Let us hold unswervingly to the hope we profess, for he who promised is faithful. And let us consider how we may spur one another on toward love and good deeds, not giving up meeting together, as some are in the habit of doing, but encouraging one another, and all the more as you see the day approaching." Hebrews chapter 10. Make that your challenge over the next few weeks. So as we approach that date, Sunday the 25th of July, be part of that. Be part of the regathering together, the returning, the coming home moment. Nehemiah was challenging the people to say, it's not about bricks, it's about the people. And likewise for us, it's not about the bricks, it's about you, and it's about me, it's about us together. Count yourself one of those 100+ people. Now in verse 17, it talks about how the people responded, and they responded with enthusiasm, with effort, so they got involved practically with all the things that need to happen. And goodness me, we've got lots to do over the next 4 weeks. Remember, worship team, host team, tech team, refreshments team, communion prep team, and all sorts going on. But also they gave, and through their giving also made that happen as well. Be part of the 100+. As we gather back together on the 25th of July, come with joy, with expectation, come with a sense of awe, not because of the bricks, but because we are in the presence of the Lord God Almighty. There's no better place to be than home.